Hey guys, Micah from Black Bear Custom Kydex. I've got a couple of projects to show you. These are going to a gentleman named Patrick, who had originally reached out to me about a sheath for his Garberg, and then the conversation pretty quickly turned to him wanting a Skeletool setup as well. So that's what we're looking at here. Let's start with the Garberg because it's really simple and quick. Basically, Hexcam Wasteland, it is a pancake style sheath, meaning it's got eyelets on both sides. This is created out of 2 layers of Kydex. There's one, or 2 pieces, I should say. One on each side of the knife. You squish them in, and then when it's cooled off, you can drill out and put those eyelets in. The eyelets, if you guys can't tell, have a darn near perfectly symmetrical placement going down the length of the blade, which means that this setup on the back here can be flipped over to the opposite side of the sheath and make this inherently an ambidextrous setup. What you're looking at for a carry setup right now is a tech lock, and this plate here is one of my standard swivel plates. These are just something I mill. Well, let me show you an unfinished one. So I basically just vacuum form Kydex, the thickest Kydex that's out there, and then I use a router to mill this pattern in there. And what that does is it allows you to mount a tech lock to those holes there. You pivot it on that center one, and the outside allows it to pivot. So it gives you a nice change of direction. If you want to change from vertical to horizontal or vice versa, you can do that anywhere in between. And you can actually tighten down the screws inside there to make the rotation easier or more difficult, depending on, tight and loosen. So you effectively are adjusting the resistance of the turning. Now, to switch this to a left-handed setup, what you would want to do is just go onto this side and take out these 3 screws. Sometimes I can get 4 points of attachment, but depending on the size of the sheath, oftentimes it's only 3. Still, it's very, very rugged. It's very sturdy. It doesn't feel at all like it's flexing or moving or anything like that. So I'm confident in this. But yeah, you just want to take out these 3 screws, and then you can literally, just holding this swivel plate in your hand, lift up the sheath, flip the sheath over, put it back down, find your little alignments, and when you do that, it'll be 2 along the top and 1 along the bottom. So you can do that. Now, when you do that, I would recommend taking off the tech lock and repositioning it. But as it stands right now, if you were to do that, essentially imagine the handle out to this side, so you can still swivel between horizontal and vertical, but your tech lock will technically be upside down. That's not really a big deal. Some people even prefer to wear it upside down to begin with. So totally up to you. But you'd still have that horizontal to vertical with the handle out this way. All right, so that's it. Hexcam Wasteland Kydex. Very simple, very clean, and very practical. As far as the draw goes, you can use that thumb push there. It's kind of a nice... I would actually not use the tip of my thumb, though. I would get up as far as you can with your index finger and then use that kind of middle knuckle on the bottom of your thumb to push it off, and you can feel it pop off. Very easy draw. However, it's also comfortable enough to just kind of grip the handle and pull it out. Either way, you're all set. It's got a nice click in. No rattle, no play. And it's not going to fall out on you. So there you go. That's the Mora Garberg. All right, now moving over here to the Skeletool. This is a very unique one. It's the first one I've set up quite like this, and I really like it. I'm very happy with it, and hopefully Patrick likes this too. So at first it was a Skeletool with, I think, it might have just been the Skeletool, and then he asked me to add the 2 bit sleeves and the extender driver. And then just the other day when I was telling him that I was getting ready to finish this up and ship it, he asked if he could add a flashlight holder to it, and it happened to be a flashlight that I don't own. So I told him I would build the holder using a dowel as a stand-in and using the specs for the flashlight in its technical description on Olight's website, but that I couldn't guarantee the fit just because I don't have it in hand, so I don't know for sure that their measurements and my measurements are the same. So I hope this fits. I think it's going to fit. I don't foresee any issues. This is how I always do it with Olights, and it always works out fine. But just full disclosure on there, that's why you don't see the light. And he also said he's okay with that. I think he said, let's go for it, essentially. So there we have it. All right, now the design on this, I know this looks a little bit funky, and you might be wondering why the bit sleeve holders have eyelets on both sides. That makes them a lot wider than they could have been. If I folded it from the side, you know, picture it essentially with that much instead of that much. So it's somewhere about a ½ inch larger than 100% necessary, but it does give you a little bit more versatility. And what I'm talking about here is the ability to convert this. Everything on this has identical drill hole spacings, is what I'm saying. So if you want the bit sleeves to be the centerpiece and have the flashlight off to one side and the Skeletool off to one side, you can do that. If you want the Skeletool to be centerpiece and have one of these bit sleeves on either side and have a flashlight wherever and the extender wherever, you can do that too. There's just a lot of different ways to take this apart and rebuild it with whatever you want for a setup. Now, originally I did have it configured with the Skeletool in the center, and to try to keep everything perfectly centered, I'd actually even made a hardware recess on the back of this to mount a tech lock to. So one of the other cool things about this, and Patrick actually recognized it and asked me to make sure that I did send him the tech lock. Obviously we're going with soft loops right now. These are more practical for this kind of width. When you have something this wide, it doesn't really make sense to put the tech lock on it anymore, but the soft loops are going to work out great. And he asked me if I could send him the tech lock anyway. So Patrick, here is your tech lock. I put a bunch of different hardware lengths and spacers in there, so that no matter how you want to configure this, you've got the hardware to do it, hopefully. I think I foresaw all the possible conclusions and planned for it there, but anyway, so yeah, you can do that. But you also have the option of paring this down to a smaller setup, maybe with just the Skeletool and the two, the flashlight and the bit driver or something. You can do a lot of different things with this. So definitely, Patrick, play around with it if you like. It's a lot of fun, I think, to kind of reconfigure it however you want. But all right, let's take a quick walkthrough really quick of what I did here and how it all looks. The Skeletool, just my standard Skeletool setup. Essentially, it's a friction fit. So as it sits right now, the hardware at the top of that Skeletool acts as kind of a stopper. So you can get it to go inside the sheath, but it's difficult to. If you want that extra bit of retention, it might be a good idea to do that. As far as drawing it goes, all you have to do is lift up from the carabiner. You can see it's got pretty much a ballistic draw there. Now, one thing I did find, since the hardware recess is on the back, if you don't have your pocket clip on this, you absolutely have to orient this with the lasered Skeletool logo and stuff facing forward. You can even do it inverted, but it still needs to be facing forward. The retention is excellent on it, so you don't have to worry about it. Now, if you turn it around and have the you can see the kind of gap for the pliers. If you have that side facing forward, no retention. You could force it down in there, and then you have the retention. So if that's what you want to do, you can do that, but the pocket clip would obviously not be able to be attached if that's what you're going to do. All right, so I just recommend carrying it carabiner down, Skeletool wording forward. Then you have your bit driver over here. Driver extender, I should say. For the record, you don't have to fling it out at yourself to make this work. You can just kind of lift up a little bit from the bottom, or you could grip the top of it. It's in kind of a tight spot, but I would maybe put a thumb on top and one of your fingers down below to get it to come out, and then it's free and clear to draw. You can also have this in from the bottom. So there again, excellent retention. It's not going to fall out on you, and maybe it makes it even easier because you can just push it down until it falls into your hand, and then you're good to go. So either way. Then we have the flashlight holder. Obviously, like I said, I can't tell you how the fit is, but I assume it's going to be just fine. And then lastly, we have the bit kits. Now these I did slightly differently. You guys know, those of you who've been following my channel, that I've gotten into vacuum forming. And so every chance I have to kind of make my products a little more precise and my process a little more consistent, I try to do that. So that one of the things I did was basically just took some measurements with calipers and got a piece of wood cut to exactly the outside dimensions of the bit sleeve, and then I vacuum formed the holders over it. So not only are they just perfectly sized, but the retention on this is actually really nice. It's got a secure hold on them. They don't like to wiggle left or right, and there's a little resistance, but not enough to prevent you from drawing it. Certainly enough to prevent them from falling out on you. I'm really, really pleased with how these came out. So Patrick, definitely once you've had a chance to use this a little bit, let us know in the comments down below what you think of it, how it all works, how the fit is on all the individual pieces, and overall how this goes on. So one of the reasons why I condensed it down like this, obviously it's thick this way, but one of the best features about it, I think, is that it's got a small footprint this way for all the gear that's on it. Without the pancake design, which does add width to it, there was going to be no way to mount everything up the way that it's mounted now. So you got to kind of take the good with the bad, and there's always a little bit of a trade-off. If you want to reduce the footprint, you obviously have to build out this way. That's essentially conceptually why skyscrapers exist, right? So there we have it. I'd love your opinions down below. I know it's pretty busy. There's a lot of components on there, and yes, it is very thick, but I think it's also very practical, and I think it looks pretty nice too. I'd love your opinions. Your opinions matter much more to me than my own. So hit me in the comment section down below. What do you think of the Skeletool, all the accessories that you can buy with it, and how do you like this configuration with everything combined? Also, let me know what you think of Mora, in particular the Garberg featured here. This is their first and only, as far as I know, full tang knife. And it's just a great company, great knives. I really enjoy their stuff. All right, guys, I think that's all I've got for you. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think in the comment sections down below. Sections, plural, I guess. I'm struggling, guys. All right, I'm out of here. Thank you for tuning in. Stick around for the next one. God bless.